Hello everyone, my name is Kerbal and welcome back to another vlog, I guess. So you can tell the sharp ear, I guess, among you might be noticing that my voice sounds a little different because I got this new mic. It's called a Snowball Ice. I can't exactly disturb it very easily. Yeah, here it is. It has pop filter. Yeah, so I got this new mic and it's way better than the webcam mic that I was using, and it's better than the headset mic though as well. So this thing is amazing, and it's not omnidirectional. There's another version called the Snowball. This is the Snowball Ice, by the way, in case you didn't know. I'm sorry about that. I didn't say anything. So this is Snowball Ice. I got it on Amazon for 5,000 rupees. It's pretty good, and by the looks of things, it's not omnidirectional. The regular Snowball has like a switch. Like, 1 second. God, this is difficult. There's like a switch over there somewhere, and that changes it to the regular omnidirectional mode, or the cardioid polar mode. I guess the one that covers only the front. So if I go like this, you won't be able to hear me nearly as well. So yeah, don't. But still, it's a really good mic. So yeah, enough of fawning over my mic. Here's the actual video. Hello everyone, my name is Kerbal and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Yeah, it's been some time since I recorded the last video, which was Tuna. So yeah, I'm gonna open this because I wanted to show you guys some new things that I built. So what are the two flights in progress? Oh yeah, I have a Taurus 2 and the Atlas A Test 4. Okay, yeah. So I was just messing around, and I got this inspiration from Scott Manley's Atlas video to create a replica of the Atlas program. And my answer to that one, or rather my self challenge, is the Taurus. Now this is the Taurus 2, obviously, so it has a couple of vectors, an aerospike, and RCS thrusters, and it can only carry this payload, which is a small or tiny satellite. I'm just going to add a power bank to it because I forgot. Electricity, here we are. Just one tiny power bank, just because the last ones were tests. So this is the real deal. So this is going to be the Taurus 2. Save. And so the reason this is really difficult is, I'll show you why. So these are all the tests. The Atlas A test 1. Yeah, I based mine on the Atlas A. I put here, this is my engines. This is the original, right? Looks a lot sleeker. Now let's see what happens when I launch it. It's weird. It's incredibly weird. Okay, sorry about that cut, but here's what happens. Okay, so I put all these three in the middle, full throttle, and now you can see what happens. It starts wobbling. And it destroys something, right? Hey, the probe survived. Wow. Okay, no, let me just show you before it collapses, because it just has this turning effect, which is kind of weird to be fair. So move the stages, full throttle, SAS. No, I didn't mean to click that. Full throttle, SAS. See what happens. See? This is exactly what happens. That is just weird. I think it's because I used Oscar B's. But honestly, I'm not sure what the hell causes this damn effect. I just gave up on this after it crashed. The B wasn't much better, but it was an improvement, to be fair. So yeah, as you can see, they're dancing, and somehow I'm hovering, kind of. Yeah, and I got this new mic called the Snowball Ice. It's amazing. It's much better than the regular mics that I was using. And here's the crash. One vector survived for a few seconds longer. And nothing survived. Still see the clouds. That was the last one to disappear. Okay, so wait, what was that? Why is there like a gold sheathing on top of the... Anyway. So, the Atlas A test was a failure. So was the Atlas 2 to be. This is the Atlas 3 because I don't, for some reason I forgot to add the second version, and this one made it into a suborbital hop. It couldn't do a complete orbit with the thing here is that my challenge was I should not be able to turn off the engines. So if I just get this thing to go up into space, and the reason I'm using vectors is they just have a good thrust to weight ratio and a pretty good and okay specific impulse at sea level. So what my idea was, I start thrusting it about 65 degrees and leave it there until I hit 70 kilometers of an apoapse. So here, the thing is that my spark engine is actually firing, in case you've noticed. The reason for that is because in the old days, you couldn't actually turn on the engines during flight. It was impossible, or they couldn't do it, basically. So they came up with this thing that they should have an efficient engine burning at all times. And the reason I use the spark is pretty obvious. It has a good thrust to weight. It has um, lots of good things, and it has a very minor fuel consumption. The only disadvantage of the spark is that this is a huge spacecraft, so I'll have to burn off most of the fuel before handing it over to the tiny spark engine. Also, I can't stage. The only staging I have is the decoupler on that. Can't even turn off my engines. So once we, oh god, I overshot. I burnt the vectors for a little too long. So I stopped burning the vectors by an action group, which is I think 1. Yeah, it was 1. So now the problem is that I don't actually, this spark engine doesn't provide enough torque to turn around. So I end up spinning like this. So no, I'm not going to turn on the vectors. So 40 kilometers up, started increasing there for a second. And as you can see, this fuel consumption is incredibly low for its 20 kilonewtons. I tried using the LV909 and it also had a very bad thrust to weight ratio. Trying to slow things down, still not succeeding. Pushing a bit faster as we get through this last roll and start slowing down now. You can understand now why it's such a pain to fly this damn thing. It is incredibly slow. Like the spark engine might be the engine of choice. That doesn't make it the engine. I can reactivate the vectors in an emergency, but I'd rather not do that. I can deploy these fairings, which reduces a bit of weight. As you can see, my high gain antenna is already deployed. The reason I'm using the high gain antenna is perfect. Done. Stopped. Now it's going to move back, and I'm going to keep it pointing at the prograde vector. Now you can see I have 2,000 units of fuel left, which gives me a delta V of 2.5 kilometers per second. If I shut down these engines, they're shut down, right? Gimbal. I just want to lock the gimbal because it just looks awkward with vibrating and no actual thrust coming out. My thrust to weight sucks, in case you've not noticed yet. It sucks. 0.07. That's because I haven't burned enough fuel using the vectors. So I'm just going to use a little while. Sorry, but I needed to burn off a bit of fuel. See, now that actually brought down my thrust weight. What? I don't know. But this thing sucks at thrusting. So as you can see, I know I'm not going to get into orbit, so I don't want to prolong your misery. So I'll show you the Atlas Test 4, which was the first successful test, the first orbital test, and this thing I think barely made it to orbit. Not 100% sure, but I think this thing barely made it to orbit. I'm not 100% sure, but if it doesn't, then well, too bad luck, I guess. So the LV909 is firing in the beginning. In fact, it's actually decreasing the specific impulse. Well, the specific impulse at sea level is like 87, which sucks. So tilting down to about 65 degrees, continuing to fire my vectors, which are of course pretty efficient, but mainsails are better, I think. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. So as you can see, I pinned this just to the start, just to show when the LV909 really starts kicking in, because that's when the atmosphere is getting thin. Once it reaches 280, then you know the atmosphere is getting thin, because then it's giving about 50 kilonewtons of thrust. Yeah, see, it's just like about 290 by the time we reach 10 kilometers. So that it's, and you can see the trail is a lot more I don't know, substantial, and you can see my apoapse is increasing a lot more. And once it hits 70, I have to start turning sideways immediately, because these vectors have a good thrust to weight. Doesn't mean they have a good specific impulse. They have only a specific impulse of 315, which is much worse than the LV909's 345. Burning sideways for a bit. Yeah, it's about 314, so it sucks. At 100, I'm turning off the vectors, which, yeah, there we go. And I'm going to throttle down the LV909, because I didn't say anything about throttling, because the last version uses an aerospike. Yeah, prograde, and fire up the engine. Yeah, see, I'm still reducing, my velocity isn't reducing too much, but because the LV909 has a lot more thrust than, say, something like the, well, there we go. So now I might just make it to orbit. I'm not too sure. I might just make it via whisker. But I think this is the first successful version is the one I used the poodle engine. And then I thought, well, the poodle is it comes very late in the tech tree, and I don't want to use it. So I decided on an alternative. I started using the aerospike, which was just as good. So as you can see, my high gain antenna is deployed right now, and we're getting a full connection to the space center. Okay, still reducing velocity. Apoapse is increasing, but time to it is decreasing. Once the time to it is increasing, I should be able to get into orbit. Just might. So as you can see, the LV909 also gives me about 2 kilometers per second of delta V. Is that burns it faster. And its thrust weight is about about a fourth of what I considered using the LVN, but in the end I decided against it, because well, it's just too advanced. I wanted it like a simple one. I wonder if this adapter is included. I think without the adapter we'll have just as much fuel, because there's only 108 units or something. So I think you can use a structural adapter without too much difficulty. So yeah, I think this thing could just barely not make it to orbit. Orbital velocity, time to apoapse is decreasing. Still, oh, but orbital speed is increasing. We are at 1.5 kilometers per second, a little faster. Also, the LV909 doesn't actually have an alternator, which is one of the bad sides. Just like the aerospike doesn't have vectoring, the LV909 doesn't actually have an alternator. So it doesn't really. A little. I might try aiming a little higher. See if that reduces my time to starts increasing my time to apoapse. Okay, now I've slowed it down, not by much. Okay, now it's in seconds. Well, I might as well get as much thrust as possible then. Let's see. If I burn upwards, what happens? Okay, still slowing. I don't think I have the thrust weight in this thing, yeah. Then I tried using the poodle and I succeeded. Then the Taurus 1 was the aerospike, right? Taurus ST. Taurus 1 was with the aerospike. I don't know what iterations I added into the Taurus 2, but this is the Taurus 1. So now I'll just put like a music video or something. I don't know. I think I'll like put a voiceover or something. Oh yeah, there's a Taurus 3 that I built, so I think I'll test that in this one. I don't think the SRBs are really required on the top. Huh? I'll keep them anyway. They just look cool. Okay, what? Okay, I need to move these up to their own stage. And oh no, wrong one. There we go. So here we go. Cue the montage, I guess. Something like that. Yeah, this thing actually has a second stage, which is what I don't like much. I think what I should actually just do is remove this portal engine, add this in, remove this, take this out, and done. I will need more RCS though. Where's the RCS thrusters? Here they are. Oh yeah, no. The NAS, I need a tank separately to this. So this I can deselect and add like a tank of RCS, which is for this particular run, which is going to be here. Actually, what I can do is add like a couple of these smaller tanks. Just a second. Add a couple of these smaller tanks, and then put like an interstage fairing. Done. And then just put this down. Problem solved. That is my RCS tank area. So let's launch this Taurus 3 test. So yeah, so here's me playing this the what's the name of this thing? The new version of the Taurus. Well, the thing about this is this one. Well, it was a test version. I hadn't actually tested it. I just built it like in the last minute, and yeah, this is 4 times the time accelerator, and I'm doing this as a last minute voiceover. So here we are, and tilting at about like 20 degrees. I turn off the aero spike, and of course I flip. So I throttle down that main engine, and once I get fixed onto the correct position, I throttle up the engine again. So I had multiple problems with this particular version because it is much heavier than its compatriots. If I show you the Taurus 2, it is a lot more, it's a lot easier to get that particular one into orbit because this one has a bigger payload. It's a much bigger relay satellite. The regular version sent like what's the name of those things? The tiny what's the name of those things? The high gain antenna. And yeah, see, here's the problem. I started running out of time on the app one, so I had to tilt it about 45 degrees. Started finding my RCS, and I'm not using RCS from that main tank. That is my OMS system in this particular version. I know it's technically 2 stages, but I'm pretty sure they had RCS thrusters. And anyway, in any case, it was there in 0.13.3, so I'm going to just assume it was there. And towards the end, I started falling back into a regular pattern. And as you can see, my RCS jets are firing incredibly quickly, and I did use most of the RCS, unlike my normal docking. So, which is kind of weird to think about. And that's about it, I guess. It's gonna end soon. It's just, yeah, now I'm just firing directly, and then I do like a last minute circularization maneuver, and that's about it. Yeah, I just get into orbit there, and you can see my periapsis is 91 kilometers, and I wasn't happy with that. So I made a maneuver to circularize that even more, and using the RCS to turn myself, obviously, because this thing is way too heavy to be turned by that tiny reaction wheel on that probe. Although to be fair, that probe is pretty powerful. And then I fire it, and that's it. I'm now in orbit. So, and I just decouple that to get the OMS stage, and I have a few solid rocket boosters just to